Okay. "They butchered me back there," said Demps in his final statement. "I was in a lot of pain. They cut me in the groin, they cut me in the leg, I was bleeding profusely. This is not an execution, it is murder." In this case, the physicians could not find a suitable vein for Mr. Demps for 33 minutes. So, don't make it seem unlikely. Try to imagine yourself or a friend who is thought to be a murderer. They go through the court case, and they're actually convicted of murder. So, they end up getting put to death as the penalty. But in this death, or in the execution, it has failed, and they result in extreme pain. And so, this could happen, unlikely, but it could happen. Could happen to you, could happen to anybody. So, the United States federal government should make an amendment to the Constitution clarifying the process of capital punishment. They should do this because the status quo allows for gruesome deaths and diminishes the rights of the criminal. First of all, I will describe the multiple gruesome possibilities that can or have occurred in the present system. As of right now, there's not a set drug to use in all states. So, according to deathpenalty.info.org, states can use a 1 to 3 drug system depending on what they want to do. So this system allows states to use inmates as test patients on potentially new drugs. So since there's not a set system, states have the opportunity to basically use whatever they want, and they get away with whatever they want. An example is on April 29, 2014, which is this year. Clayton Lockett from Oklahoma. The report read, "Despite prolonged litigation and numerous warnings from the defense attorneys about the dangers of using an experimental drug protocol, Oklahoma went ahead with the execution. Plans for the execution and the drugs were cloaked in secrecy, with the state refusing to release the source or name of the drugs, making it impossible to predict the outcome. The result, extreme pain. So they halted the execution, but Lockett died 30 minutes later of a heart attack." Another example, more recently, on July 23rd, was Joseph Wood, who moaned in pain during a 1 hour and 40-minute execution. This execution should take no longer than 5 minutes, but for this case, it took 1 hour and 40. And these are just two of many. Since 1982, when lethal injection became legal, there have been 32 well-known botched executions. The drug can cause serious pain, and there can be an injection failure or a failed procedure. There are multiple possibilities of how the death could become, or how the penalty could become much worse than intended. So, if the pain is so intense, could it be considered cruel and unusual? Could the current system be considered unconstitutional? Other than the potential cruel punishment, criminals are also at a loss of many other constitutional rights. The next big issue is the diminished rights of the criminal. Presently, inmates are locked away as soon as they are convicted immediately. This just means that they're locked away in a psychological war zone, per se, because they're going to be completely alone for 23 hours a day. This is resulting in psychological torture. Brian Stoll points out in an article, "Death row is not a constitution-free zone," that an innocent man could be the person that is locked away while he's awaiting his trial. Since that they are locked away in such confinement, the courts usually aren't using them as quite the priority because they know they're going to be safe and locked away in that area. And so the right of a speedy trial has been taken from them. And so for an innocent man, this could mean more psychological torture. They could mentally deteriorate during this time, and then by the time they're released, they've already been damaged so much that there's no return. A Virginia prison very recently lost a court case which was considered unconstitutional because of their death row system, and now many other states are under investigation for it. William J. Brenning, a federal court judge, said that criminals are treated as objects and no longer people. So, another major flaw is that some states allow death penalties and some do not. When New York joined in 1985 to the list of states that allow death penalty, making it 35, it was the all-time high in America. Now it's back to 32, and it's going to be soon dropping even more, as states like Ohio and Indiana are now backing out. So, what's the problem with this? It's just that some criminals can get away with some criminals can be okay with more in certain states. So depending on where you live, crime is more legal or more illegal. And so why should some crimes be punished more harshly depending on where you commit them? It just doesn't make much sense to me. Lastly, what should we do about the box executions, unequal rights of criminals in states? My solution is that the United States needs a quicker method of trial and execution, which means that the government should immediately put a person on trial, The judge should make a quick decision based on set standards, and execution should be performed within 1 week. Next, the United States needs a more efficient method of execution, a method that has less pain, less potential for back execution,